Okay, we're going to get started. Good morning, welcome. As people continue to jump in, let's set the intention. Let's hold the space for ourselves. Let's hold a space for the world. Whatever intentions you want to bring into today's call, you can just kind of say it to yourself. I want to bring peace. I want more love, compassion, kindness. Really, whatever you want to have show up in the world. You are the source of it. We are the source of it.
Hello there. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
I moved around
All right, awesome. Well, we are going to continue chapter 13 today. Chapter 13, section 3, the fear of redemption. So the Course tells us that we're not really afraid of punishment. We're not really, our greatest fear isn't that, but our greatest fear is actually love and redemption. This is why we're so quick to throw those things away. We're so quick to throw peace and love away. We're always looking for something that is wrong. Because the mind, our mind, there was the tiny mad idea that somehow separated us from God. And it believes that we are guilty. We have done something wrong. And when we carry this guilt, we carry this shame and this guilt, it also imagines that it has earned the punishment. So the punishment's already there. But that's not what really is terrifying us. What we're really scared of and what we fear the most is that there is no punishment. That God's not going to judge us and that we were never guilty. So we really technically fear being wrong more than anything else. Because being wrong is attached to our entire identity. And, identity is what we continue to build everything in this physical world, this 3D world, to justify, right? We build on the guilt. We're defensive, and we're always striving for something more, and we believe that separation is real, and that if somehow we were wrong about our guilt, we were wrong about punishment, then the entire identity that I've built myself, the foundation of it is completely gone, and that the ego wouldn't exist anymore. That's what we're most afraid of, is to let go of the identity that we've built up in the time that we've been alive. And so redemption is the undoing of all of those illusions. It undoes all of it, and that's what we're really afraid of. We're really afraid of letting go of Alex that I've built. Right? It undoes the self that we've made. And that is what really frightens us. Right? Not that we're going to lose love, but that we've never left love. That there is we not that we have to pay for our return, but that we have to actually stop running. We're afraid of stopping the run. What's up, Mike? And to accept redemption, right? See, our fear of redemption is to accept redemption, and redemption is to say that nothing has happened. Is to accept that nothing has happened. And that's really weird for us. Right? That we were actually in a dream this whole time. To return to our self, our capital self. And the ego cannot survive. The illusions that we have created as the idea of our identity does not exist. That's what we're afraid of. So, in that, the ego tells us that love is dangerous, that being innocent is naive, and that joy, we can't laugh that much, and we can't have that much joy. We have to protect ourselves. So when we have a lot of joy, when things are going good, the straying mind, let's call it, the ego's mind goes into some of the, hey, let's find something to beat up. Let's find something to judge. We need to figure out how to throw away this truth in order to protect our identity. And untrained and ungrounded mind follows these thoughts. And then it becomes our experience, and then it becomes our truth. And then we reinforce the story, and then we throw away peace. If we were to accept redemption and we allow redemption to be of our existence, then it undoes all of this ego illusion, and we're afraid of that. We don't actually want that. That's what we're afraid of.
If you read the things, then I will.
Okay, so we're gonna jump into chapter 13, section 3 here today. And welcome, everyone. I hope that whatever you feeling is alive today, you guys will share, because so much of the value of this call and the learning and the teaching of this call comes from a dance between each one of us. And so, as we dive into this section here today, I feel the call to read first. Every time after the reading, we seem to have more shares. And it's always towards the end of the call, and we're like rushing it. So I want to really provide the space today to have an engaging conversation. All right. So first, we will open with just something. Let's have Marianne Williamson bless us and see what she has to say. Let's see. This is a good one. Day 83. As long as I am in service, I am in the flow of divine love. Right. The organizing principle of all life is service. Every cell serves the functioning of the organism of which it is a part. The sun serves life by sharing its warmth and light. The rain serves the earth by pouring water on growing things. Plants serve life by giving us oxygen and food. We too find our right place in the universe when we place ourselves in the service to life. As long as I enter any situation with the primary goal of being of service.
Here, Goldie, come here.
Annie, you keep unmuting yourself. As long as I enter any situation with the primary goal of being of service, being of use to furtherance of goodness and love, I will find my place and find my peace. May all that I think and do be in the service of a higher love. May my personal goals be subsumed in my desire to serve. May I not be tempted to believe service entails sacrifice. May I always remember that the one I truly serve is myself. So, as long as I am in service, I am in the flow of divine love. So, if we ever feel lost, they always say that if you feel down or if you feel lost, then go be in service. And I think we can emphasize today's remembering on that, right? You're good, Annie. No worries. Yeah. What can we be in service to? If we just remember that as we're out, if you're shopping or if you're out anywhere in the world, that your purpose being out is to serve, to be in service to higher love, so that you may find your place in the world. It's a great reminder for all of us, you know, because sometimes we feel like service is sacrifice. Like, to be in service, I must give up something of myself, my time, my money, my energy. Go ahead, Fraser.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be, like you say, it doesn't have to, you don't have to like bend yourself over backwards, really. Like it's to be in service is very simple. I'm in the airport in Seattle and a lady was wrangling her two kids and trying to grab the little gray containers, and I was just like, can I offer you a hand? She's like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's that simple, right? Just the kindness and out of your heart, just to help someone. It doesn't have to be, big grand gestures. It's great to do those grand gestures, but it's the simple ones that are very powerful as well.
Yeah. And you feel great doing it, right? Like, you're like, oh my God, I got to be in service. You don't want anything in return, right? And the crazy thing, this is what the Course says, the insane thing about the ego is that, look, it feels good doing it, but how come we don't want to, we're afraid to receive it? How interesting is that, right? Sometimes you see somebody like, hey, can I give you a hand? No, I'm good. Obviously they could use a hand. And no, I'm good. We all reject that somewhere, because somewhere we have this connotation that service requires sacrifice. So if I am to receive service from somebody, oh, they're going to be sacrificing. No, I don't want to bother you, right? But if it feels great to be in service, what do you mean? Let's give somebody the opportunity to feel great. So you want to think about, yeah,
For me,
yeah,
that was a difficult one for me, like to
mm-hmm,
accept the help when
yeah,
needed.
yeah,
But now I have received that, and it feels really nice to be
mm,
able to receive that as well.
yeah. You see, like any time that we stop that divine flow, whether it's about giving service or receiving service, it's really the same thing. But when we stop it, we stop that flow. And this section today, I think, really will talk about the fear of that, of the redemption, the remembering that, oh my God, giving is receiving. If I have to stop that, then who am I? I haven't accepted service. I haven't accepted help from anybody my whole life. Who would I be if I accepted help and service from somebody? That's what we're afraid of. We're afraid of losing that identity. And so unconsciously, we don't really know that. But now we are going to consciously program ourselves to, one, experience service and at the same time receive service. Okay, Mike, what up?
What's up, man? Hey guys. Yeah, it's my first call.
Yes.
I don't know how that goes, but it's good to finally be here. But yeah, something's coming up for me immediately. I just recently started a job part-time at a steakhouse to support myself while I'm on beginning my entrepreneurial path. And I'm a server. That's the name of my title. And I look at everything as symbols in my life, like there's no accident. Like there's something about serving here. And my first night, I did terrible, and I was like extremely fearful to go back. I just got my butt kicked, like, because I didn't know what I was doing. It was like deer in headlights in a busy Saturday night steakhouse. So each time I go back, I have fear going in. But I went back. I've been getting better and better and better each time. But I've been trying to change my perspective and my mindset when I go in. And yesterday I went in. And I'm an energetically sensitive guy. Some days I just feel off. Stuff's going on. I can't figure out what it is, but like I feel like I'm just being torn down from all angles. And yesterday I was having this experience, and I was like, how am I gonna go in and serve and be in this and wait on tables when I feel like this? And it's happened several times. So I had been having the conversation that it's taking something from me, or even that I can't spend too much time there because I won't have enough time to work on my personal stuff, my talks, my coaching, all that stuff. So I went in yesterday and I was just like, all right, this is the medicine that I need and I'm just going to trust it. And I've been coming from the mindset of rather than focusing on like, am I going to do good or not? I'm like, how can I just serve the tables the best I can and make sure that the customer has a great experience and really make it all about them? And so yesterday, like every single tool in my tool bag did not work during the day when I was with myself. The breath work, the meditation, talking to myself, everything. I was like sad, depressed, everything. And I went in and just focused on my customers, and it literally shifted my entire energy. I started having fun, and I came back to myself, like without even thinking about myself at all, just trying to make sure that they had a great experience. So I'm like, oh, God's really given me the medicine of serving here in an environment that's pretty different than I'm used to being in, and it does give me what I need. And I started having fun last night. I was like, how'd that happen? Everything else failed, and yet this worked, and I'm a server. So that's what came up for me with that.
It's so interesting that you say that, and this happens for me all the time too. Whenever I experience stress or annoyance or agitation, like I know it's just because I'm focused inwards on something. This way, I'm focused on me, right? Me. What am I the victim of, and all that, right? And then the more I try to get rid of it myself, it actually doesn't work. Because the practice, like the breath work in those, is to bring yourself to the present moment. And if you bring yourself to the present moment, none of that really exists, right? Because most of our agitation and stuff comes from already something in the past, even if it's like 10 minutes ago, right? So we can't get off of it. And then the idea of trying to overcome it magnifies it, which is what the Course says. The insanity of us is we constantly are trying to focus on fixing something. Fixing something implies that something is broken. So that's why we want to keep fixing. You want to keep fixing, keep doing something to magnify the fact that something is broken about you, right? Rather, to be in service, a simple code is outward focus. Whenever I get upset, like yesterday, I was, I was having a conversation with Love, and we have our daily 7 p.m. check-in where we have where we talk about how was our day, and then if anything came up for us. And so the agreement is that we hold a non-judgmental space, right? But of course, we save, like we don't, throughout the day, we don't like say, hey, I'm annoyed at this or whatever. We bring all to our check-in at night. And so, of course, a lot of her stuff led in, what she was annoyed about, or, some just negative things, right? She led with that. And it's funny because it all came from when I said something about disrupting routines. I was like, our transformation happens when we are able to disrupt or interrupt our past routines. And so her whole thing was like, well, it's not about routines, it's about bad habits. I'm like, okay, well, sure, that. And then it just kind of went on and on a little bit. And then I was like, okay, don't get defensive. And what happens when I just keep telling myself, don't get defensive? I got defensive. There was just one thing she said, I couldn't help myself, and I had to just go in on it. Even though I'm like, okay, don't. Because I just kept focusing on it and just kept growing it. And so we brought that up. And I was like, okay, well, I kept saying don't be defensive. And then I, of course, became defensive, and we both got defensive. And so it's really interesting. Like the moment she's like, oh, well, so what's the opposite of defensive? I'm like, offensive? She's like, no, that's definitely not it. I'm like, offensive with love. I'm just going to lead with love outwards to you. So when we focus outwards on love, our experience changes. So then we can really say that our experience is not really dictated on outside forces, but on the way in which we direct our thought system and our energies. Our experience is dictated by the direction in which we give our energy. So, yeah, thanks, Mike, for sharing that, because that really exemplifies exactly what we're going to be talking about here today. Fraser.
I love this conversation because it brings me right to the alchemy of self that we're doing with Claudia and Adam.
Yes.
And it's like that observation, the center of pure will, where you're here, right? And we get to observe all of these little parts of ourselves that we bring in to make whole, right? So the defensive part of you, or the fearful part of you, and it's like, oh, isn't that interesting? We get to notice those things and incorporate it into the whole. And it's a beautiful practice, and it's made massive changes in my life, and my worthiness has come up, and it's like my self-love is so much higher than it was. It's been one of the greatest things I've ever been a part of, besides this and some other things. So it's been a real game changer for me, and a part of the men's group with Adam as well, right? That's actually another thing, right? Is being that center of will, right? And to notice these parts of ourselves that we can incorporate as a whole. And like you say, like not to react, but to be, oh, that's interesting. What's that all about? What's that sub-personality for me? It's amazing. It's been awesome.
Yeah, I've seen so much shift in everybody that has taken the alchemy of self with Claudia and Adam. Just deeper awareness, more gratitude. And that's what comes naturally, right? As we become truly aware of our, all the parts of ourselves that are different personas that we can identify and be like, oh yeah, well, that's not really me. And like the witnesser, right? Like really getting to the point that you are a witnesser of these different personas. And as you can change your relationship to those things. So I'm excited to also be a part of that in the next journey of it. So the alchemy of self with Claudia and Adam, Purple Eagle Tribe, Purple Eagle Tribe forever. We need like a Wakanda forever thing. Purple Eagle Tribe forever. Anyways, thank you. Yeah, thank you both for sharing. That would be super cool. Yeah, Miguel Rodriguez, and Fraser. Thank you guys for sharing. Anybody else feel anything coming up from this conversation here today? If you're online watching also, you can comment, and I will see in the comments, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Okay, well, let's start to read and let's see what happens. Last week we started the read a little bit late, and then at the end I feel like we're just cramming in. Everybody wants to share, so let's give it more space for that here today. Yeah, because I always feel like it's in the shares and in our conversation that these the teachings of A Course in Miracles really shows up. All right. So chapter 13, section 3. Yeah, just, before that, I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys that are on here today, and you guys that come on every call, because I feel on Sundays and Wednesdays there's a different energy that I kind of walk around with. There's a lot more gratitude, and towards the end, especially the day before A Course in Miracles, things always come up. I'm like, oh my God, like I'm more agitated, I'm defensive quicker, I'm blaming quicker. And so even as much as I read and study A Course in Miracles, it still keeps showing up for me, right? And so it's not like we're going to just do this and then it's done. It's the fact that we get to continue our remembering together, and this is why I love communities. I love being of service to communities. And I'm part of a bunch of different tribes and groups, and I just love everybody. It gives me an opportunity to like serve somebody in some way all the time. Okay, So yeah, thank you guys for being on here today and spending this time together. Chapter 13, Section 3. The fear of redemption. You may wonder why it is so crucial that you look upon your hatred and realize its full extent. You may also think that it would be easy enough for the Holy Spirit to show it to you and to dispel it without the need for you to raise it to awareness yourself. Yet, there is one more obstacle you have to interpose between yourself and the atonement. We have said that no one will countenance fear if he recognizes it. Yet, in your disordered state of mind, you are not afraid of fear. You do not like it, but it is not your desire to attack that really frightens you. You are not seriously disturbed by your hostility. You keep it hidden because you are more afraid of what it covers. You could look even upon the ego's darkest cornerstones without fear if you did not believe that without the ego, you will find within yourself something you fear even more. You're not really afraid of the crucifixion. Your real terror is of redemption. Under the ego's dark foundation is the memory of God, and it is this that you are really afraid of. For this memory will instantly restore you to your proper place, and it is this place that you have sought to leave. Your fear of attack is nothing compared to your fear of love. You would be willing to look even upon your savage wish to kill God's Son if you did not believe that it saves you from love. For this wish caused the separation, and you have protected it because you do not want to separate. You do not want the separation healed. You realize that by removing the dark clouds that obscure it, your love for your Father will impel you to answer his call and leap into heaven. You believe that attack is salvation. One sec, letting somebody in. You believe that attack is salvation because it will prevent you from this. For still deeper than the ego's foundation and much stronger than it will ever be is your intense and burning love of God and his for you. This is what you really want to hide. In honesty, it is not harder for you to say, I love you, than I hate. Is it not harder for you to say, I love, than I hate? You associate love with weakness and hatred with strength, and your own real power seems to you as real weakness. For you cannot control your joyous response to the call of love if you heard it, and the whole world you thought you made will vanish. The Holy Spirit then seems to be attacking your fortress, for you would shut out God, and he does not will to be excluded. You have built your whole insane belief system because you think you would be helpless in God's presence, and you would save yourself from his love because you think it would crush you into nothingness. You are afraid it would sweep you away from yourself and make you little, because you believe that magnitude lies in defiance and attack is grandeur. You think you have made a world God would destroy, and by loving him, which you do, you would throw this world away, which you would. Therefore, you have used the world to cover your love. And the deeper you go into the blackness of the ego's foundation, the closer you come to the love that is hidden there. And it is this that frightens you. You can accept insanity because you made it, but you cannot accept love because you did not. You would rather be a slave of the crucifixion than a son of God in redemption. Your individual death seems more valuable than your living oneness. For what is given you is not so dear as what you made. You are more afraid of God than of the ego, and love cannot enter where it is not welcome. But hatred can, for it enters of its own volition and cares not of yours. You must look upon your illusions and not keep it hidden, because they do not rest on their own foundation. In concealment, they appear to do so, and thus they seem to be self-sustained. This is the fundamental illusion on which the others rest. For beneath them, and concealed as long as they are hidden, is the loving mind that thought and made them in anger. And the pain in the mind is so apparent when it is uncovered that its need of healing cannot be denied. Not all the tricks and games you offer it can heal it, for here is the real crucifixion of God's Son. And yet he is not crucified. Here is both his pain and his healing, for the Holy Spirit's vision is merciful and his remedy is quick. Do not hide suffering from his sight, but bring it gladly to him. Lay before his eternal sanity all your hurt and let him heal you. Do not leave any spot of pain hidden from his light, and search your mind carefully for any thought you fear to uncover. For he will heal every little thought you have kept to hurt you and cleanse it of its littleness, restoring it to the magnitude of God. Beneath all the grandiosity you hold so dear is your real call for help. For you call for love to your Father as your Father calls to you himself. In that place which you have hidden, you will only to unite with the Father in loving remembrance of him. You will find this place of truth as you see it in your brothers, for though they may deceive themselves, like you, they long for the grandeur that is in them. And perceiving it, you will welcome it, and it will be yours. For grandeur is the right of God's Son, and no illusions can satisfy him or save him from what he really is. Only this love is real, and he will be content only with his reality. Save him from his illusions, that you may accept the magnitude of your Father in peace and joy. But exempt no one from your love, or you will be hiding a dark place in your mind where the Holy Spirit is not welcome. Exempt no one from love, or you will be hiding a dark place in your mind where the Holy Spirit is not welcome. And the Holy Spirit only comes to where it is welcome. And thus you will exempt yourself from his healing power, for by not offering total love, you will not be healed completely. Healing must be as complete as fear, for love cannot enter where there is one spot of fear to mar its welcome. You, who prefer separation to sanity, cannot obtain it in your right mind. You were at peace until you asked for a special favor, and God did not give it to you. Give it, for the request was alien to him, and you could not ask this of the Father who truly loved his Son. Therefore you made of him an unloving father, demanding of him what only such a father could give. And the peace of God's Son was shattered, for he no longer understood his Father. He feared what he had made, but still more he feared his real Father, having attacked his own glorious equality with him. In peace he needed nothing and asked for nothing. In war, he demanded everything and found nothing. So this is a great line right here. In peace, we ask for nothing and we needed nothing. But in war, we demand everything and found nothing. For how could the gentleness of love respond to his demand, except by departing in peace and returning to the Father? If the Son did not wish to remain in peace, he could not remain at all. For a darkened mind cannot live in the mind, and it must seek a place of darkness where it believes it is where it is not. God did not allow this to happen, yet you demanded that it happen, and therefore believe that it was so. To single out is to make alone, and thus make lonely. God did not do this to you. Could he set you apart, knowing that your place lies in his oneness? So you are part. You're part of the whole. So he would not desert you or make you alone or single you out. He denied you owning your request for pain, for suffering is not of his creation. Having given you creation, he could not take it from you. You could, but answer your insane request with a sane answer that will abide you with you in your insanity. And this he did. No one who hears his answers will give up insanity. For his answer is a reference point beyond illusions, from which you could not look back on them and see them as insane. But seek this place and you will find it, for love is in you and will lead you there. So the redemption of fear, or the fear of redemption, the redemption of fear. See, that's exactly what the ego wants you to do. Flip that around. The redemption of fear. But yeah, we are more afraid. We are more afraid of letting go of being right about the way that the world is, our illusions, all the stuff that we really hold on to. Last night with the same conversation with Love that I shared before, she had an interesting thought. She was like, my mind and my brain is so powerful. Leading from a breakthrough call that we had right before that, we talked about the power of the mind, and we talked about community, and we talked about identity and the remembrance of ourselves. And she was like, I read things on science of the body, and then I believe it, and then I make myself to it. So she's talking about like cycle syncing, right? Like menstruation period and all the different things and different cycles that a woman goes through, which is beyond my comprehension. But for her now, she has read something that is so, that she believes so much that she actually creates the reality with her body, and it actually happens. And it's cool for her, and she realized, she had a awareness that our beliefs are just that powerful. And so we're not really afraid of the punishment. Yes, the placebo. We're not really afraid of the punishment that comes from it. We're afraid of having to change our mind about something. Right? But I've said all of these things. Imagine me, probably my more, let me think. Anytime we have to let go of an idea or an identity of ourselves, that's the biggest challenge to overcome. When I had to let go of the identity of having a W-2 and what that means for Alex to have a job, like that was a massive shift. To somebody else, like, yeah, that's pretty silly, Alex. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But to me, because I've said it so much, right? My fear isn't about the redemption, my fear or the love. My fear is of changing the identity of Alex that always has been. Like, oh my God, who would I be then? What would people think about me? What about all the things that I've said about being an entrepreneur and all that? Right? So it's super interesting. And it's really interesting, and I give myself props that I can just like in moments time be able to shift that identity. See, what we want requires, if we want something that we do not have right now, we must shift something about our beliefs. I heard a great quote yesterday from Gerald on our call, through our breakthrough call, but we can never outperform our self-identity. That means everything that we want is a shift in self-identity. Right? We can never outperform our self-identity. And then the Course says, your identity is an idea to be undone. The atonement is to undo the idea of you. And it's so funny because remember last week or maybe a week before we were like, okay, our Windows tabs are basically like our identity. It's our remembrance, and we keep it open, and it just has more and more files, more and more, and we're trying to navigate who we are and what we're doing to make it easier, or whatever it is that we keep all of these tabs open. And Claudia and I had a funny conversation that we have multiple profile and windows with millions of tabs open. And then so I decided to close all of my tabs, right? And I closed all of my tabs on the call here. I don't know if it was Sunday or last Wednesday. And I was like, okay, in order for us to truly have a transformation around it, we must truly believe that to close those tabs is where freedom is found. To remove all these ideas about ourselves and to clean up that of which distracts us. So I closed all of those. But guess what I have open on my computer right now is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 tabs open on my Chrome again. I'm like, I guess I have not had a transformation around it, right? So, but I'm going to do it again today. Not right now, because I still need some of these tabs, but I will do it. I don't know where that was leading, but we can never outperform our self-identity. So that means if we want something different, if we want more love in our life, then we might have to shift the identity that we had for ourselves. We might have to shift, and identities are made up of, our identity is made up of our ideas, our philosophies, what we believe is the right path and the wrong path. And the atonement is the constant undoing so that we can become the nothingness, which is pure love and flow of God. See, that's what we're most afraid of. We're most afraid of what happens if I'm not those identity tags that I've attached myself to. How do I be a pure space of nothingness? Because a pure space of nothingness seems like a bad thing, because who am I then? That's what we're most afraid of, is that question right there. Who am I without the tags that I've added myself, that I've attached myself to? Because if you were a pure space of nothingness, then in any given moment you can adapt to anything without judgment. Think about the freedom that comes with it. To have no judgments on anything that's happening. See, that's scary. Our mind immediately goes through, oh my God, all these bad things. What do you mean? No judgments to these bad things. What would I be doing? Who would I be if I didn't have what was right and what was wrong, what was good and bad? And all the places where I have positions. I'm positioned against this. I am for this. I have to this. I like basketball. I don't like basketball. I don't like this the way this person behaves. I like the way this person behaves. Without all of that, who would I be then? See, we're not afraid of the punishment that comes as a result, or the outcome that comes as a result of attack and judgment. We're not afraid of that. We're ready for it. Because then we get to be right about something else, and we get to be in more conflict, and we get to be distracted from the only job and the only purpose and the function that we're doing here is to be of service and to be of light. So it's great that we started the call here today with service from Marianne Williamson, that to find your right place in the world is to find service. Because there is no, in service we find our place, but there is no, there's no insanity or ego attached to that if we can be in the flow of life, because we find our place. Service is healing of our mind, shifting our experience and our feelings. And in service, being outwardly focused, it actually rewires the experiences of shame and guilt, because it doesn't allow you to focus inward. So you can be talking about a certain conversation or be in a place that normally you're like, oh, I can't be here. Right? Oh, I don't like these people. Oh, my energy's off and this and that. But when you're focused outwards, all of that is gone, and all of a sudden your experience in that space could change. But that also requires you to let go of that identity of, oh, I can't be around these people or can't have this conversation or any of that. That was the past. That's a past version of you that you're most afraid to let go of. Right? No. I can't go to these. I can't listen to this type of music. No. I can't be around this type of people. No. I can't talk about politics. Can't talk about religion. See, we have so many places where it's attached to the identity of ourselves. So we're most afraid to let go of that identity than to just experience love. We are so afraid to truly experience that. So I know it's a lot to think about. It requires a complete shift in our mind. Actually, it's just taking our mind and flipping it upside down. So sometimes that's a lot to take because we're like, that's a lot of stuff we have to flip over. But we could just say, yep, all of it, we'll just flip it all at the same time. We don't have to know what all of it is, just flip it all on its head, and to know that first, we protect our ego more than anything else. We want to protect ego more than we want to experience love. And this is why every time when everything is going great, we get upset at something. Why do we always find something to stress ourselves out and to get upset over? Like, can't love and I just live in harmony and be grateful and happy all the time? Why do we have to find something to get upset at? It's a real insane thing. But for us, we're like, no, it's good, it's healthy, and it's normal, and this people should be in conflict, and fights are healthy. Maybe. But why not just, what's wrong with no fights? No fights means there's lack of communication, and you guys don't really care. Like, we've taken this world and our identity around things and our theories, our philosophies, and just justified attack. Even if it's in a way that it seems like it's a helping conversation or like a woke conversation or it's spiritual. See, that's what we got to justify the warring thoughts of the ego. We rather justify pain and suffering than to truly experience love because we're more afraid of that. Of unconditional pure love. Unconditional pure love. We're like, whoa, but what if somebody hurts me? We don't question the ego, but we question love. Which is why the fear of redemption. And I love this chapter, which is like always the main conversation about chapter 13 is to identify the guiltless world, the guiltless son of God. Child of God, all of us, and then so the next, it's so good. Chapter 13, there's, I just see in my book so many things underlined. Whenever I see that, it means this chapter is just really landed for me the last time I read it, or all the past times I've read it. So I'm excited to see. And I'm excited for the chapters also that doesn't have a lot of lines because that means somehow it must have not landed for me. So the next section is a section for the function of time. It's always a great conversation. Okay, now I will open it up. We had amazing shares to start this call. Let's see if we can keep it going. What is feeling alive? What is alive in our space? Got some thumbs ups. And you can type it in the comments also for Facebook people. Let's see what I'm missing over here. Okay. Well, let's see if we can hear some more from Marianne Williamson according to that. So this one will be a reflection. Oh, okay, Helen. You first.
Thank you, Alex. I'm just taken by the last line. I guess the last lines for me are what really does it. Um, but seek this place and you will find it. For love is in you. For love is in you. It's already in there. So all we have to do is seek. It's just so uplifting and so positive. I just love it.
Yeah. Thank you for
Little
sharing that.
comment there. In verse 11, for me, that was like that's where everything just turns upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just all the opposite of what I thought is actually taken action. That's what I got when I read it. And just one more thing, for 2 weeks now, this has been on my mind. This saying that God only sees love. That the first time I heard that, that was so impactful because everything this is talking about shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, thanks for letting me spill my guts.
Yes. Thank you for spilling your guts. And, what you said, but seek this place and you will find it, for love is in you and will lead you there. Seek and you will find. That is the Holy Spirit's message to you. And then the ego's message to you is seek but do not find. So think about what we are seeking. Does it lead us in loops? Does it really have no end? Or is it just seek and you shall find? That's one way for us to identify whether it's the ego and we're chasing insanity.
That's a good point, Alex.
Yeah. Because if we think our salvation is an attack, and attack creates defense, which creates more attack, that's the insanity of the cycle of attack. Seek and you shall not find. Seek and not find. I think my salvation is an attack, but attack never leads to salvation. So seek and don't find. Service and the Holy Spirit and love leads to salvation. When I'm experiencing and giving love or receiving love, I feel great. There's your salvation. I feel at peace. Peace is what I wanted, and I got it. Right? When you give peace, you got it. See, that's the law. The law of the Holy Spirit and God is seek and you shall find. Seek attack and you shall find attack. But you think salvation is an attack, so then it's seek and you don't get. Right? Awesome. Well, samsara. Yay.
Hi.
Hi.
Wow, there's a lot of layers to that passage, but something came up for me when we were coming back to the open tabs. And the question of like, who are we when we exit out of all of those tabs? And we're going through a period of that right now, between me and Rise. So some of you may know that I read Vedic astrology charts, Jyotish, and some of you, I have read what we call Mahadashas. Mahadashas are these planetary periods that influence us for like 5 years, 7 years, 20 years, so on and so forth. And they all are planets that influence us. And Rise is currently in what we call Ketu Dasha. and I'm in Mercury Dasha. So when I met Rise, he was at the height of his Mercury Dasha, where communication is open, things are flowing, it's easy to come about different opportunities. But now Rise has transitioned in what we call Ketu Dasha, which is about, in a more simpler term, like disconnection and loss. And I remember when that mark started happening after his mother died, and then a lot of like intense career shifts have happened. The tabs are closing.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like, oh no, K2 Dasha, I'm going to lose everything materially, and what does this mean for me? And it's actually a really great time for spiritual practice, and this is the period of time, 7 years for him, where he actually gets to create a very authentic relationship to God. Now, it's not easy. Like, I'm married to him. Like, I'm experiencing now a lot of growth in my life, but then I'm also married to Rise, and there's a lot of loss that's happening, and this loss of identity of like, who am I without this, career and job that I had that used to come in so like fluidly, and abundance was like no problem. And it's caused some friction in our relationship, but luckily, I'm in a spiritual practice, and it helps me stay focused to the higher truth. And especially being in containers like this is why I show up more often, so I can be reminded. But yeah, it's not easy. A lot of our egos are tied to, our job and how people validate us in that, and how we're validated in marriage, like, and how we're validated in these like certain things. And it's like things in this period are just slipping away for him. And we had a very powerful practice last night, um, that made both of us cry. Um, there are moments where there's a lot of negative self-talk and self-criticism that comes up when we're going through these changes. And I notice it with Rise sometimes, and it's really hard for me to hear him say things about himself in that way. And normally, kind of Alex, what you were saying, like, why can't we be just an ease and flow, and everything doesn't need to be a struggle? I want that too.
We all do, but we're all insane, so it's fine.
Yeah, but that's not the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And my teacher always tells me that even if we are in our struggle, that this is a purification process, and purification still leads to progress. And there's a lot that actually can be gained through struggle. Now, does that mean that I'm going to be addicted to struggle? No. There was time when Rise and I had a lot of ease in our life, and it was really beautiful. But that's still, that's one reality, but not the whole reality. And my teacher has always told me that there is a lot of beauty and struggle. Just like how you wouldn't rush the process of a butterfly in the middle of their metamorphosis, right? Like, we can't meddle with that, because it takes time in the chrysalis for them to form fully into what that transformation is, right? To become a full butterfly. And so last night, I took Rise by the hand. I was like, okay, we need to stop this like negative self-talk, because it's hard for me to hear this. And I took him to the mirror and I hugged him. And I had him say some affirmations about himself, the things that he's proud of in himself that are not tied to these external circumstances that we're in. And just remind him who he is in his character. I'm proud that I'm a kind person. I'm proud that I'm generous. I'm proud that I'm of service. I'm proud that I show up, all of these non-external things. And it really helped. Like, we both hugged and we cried, like, okay, let's not let's not have the current circumstances that we are in right now define us. This is the moment of truth. This is where we step into our warriorship to really dig down deeper. What really is there without all of the tabs that are open, right? And that's the part where we can show up in the world when we bear our souls in that way. I remember once hearing that like a true artist is someone who really just bears their soul to the world, and that's what draws in, the aligned people, the aligned opportunities, the aligned, everything. And so, yeah, that's what this conversation and talking about the tabs and like what does this mean when we don't have those things open, um, bring up for us. And that really shows the stuff, the stuff of our character. And not to interrupt this process of being in the chrysalis right now, because there's no quick fixes. Life is already teaching us everything that we need to know, and of course we need to make sure our attention and focus is in right right attention and focus, right? Not getting distracted and being in the illusions, and that's what's gonna pull us through. So yeah, that's all I had to share, and I don't know if that resonates with anybody, but when you're in these like external circumstances and you're doing everything that you can, and then really what it comes down to is we just have to trust over the discomfort. So thank you everybody for listening.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you for being so, open to sharing that experience and with Rise and everything, and sending a lot of love to Brother Rise. And maybe it's a good time soon also for me to come down and visit the valley and spend some time with him. I feel like I'm being called now back to the valley. So, yeah. And when I said like, why can't everything just be harmonious and happy and peaceful, is not the experience of harmonious and happy and peace that we think right now, right? Because there is one level in our earthly realm that experiences and has these feelings, which is all a part of that harmony, love, and peace, right? It's encompassed in it. Like the beauty of the struggle, the beauty of the challenges that we're going through. All the while, what is it for? Is the only question that you really always have to ask. What is it for? And sometimes we do the self-talk and we say all the bad things because we are calling for love. We need more love. We need love in this moment. Right? And that's perfectly fine. But can we deepen faith and spiritual practice? See, a lot of times what happens is we're on this growth, but this growth actually adds more tabs to us. We're like, ooh, tabs, 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 tabs. I'm feeling so abundant. All these tabs are opening. It's so clear. And it's fine to enjoy those things. But also, when you add God to those things, you realize that is just part of an experience. It does not define who you are. So can you open and close tabs with peace and harmony? With peace and trust and faith. The point of losing and gaining those things is to recognize, and actually to experience those, is to recognize that they don't have the value that you think they do. All those pieces that we've added to our identity, they are for you to have fun with, for you to learn from. But none of those things define you, who is still perfectly guiltless, innocent child of God that can never not be. And nothing can add to you or take away from you. See, the purpose of those tabs the opening and closing of it is for you to recognize that. Yes, the closing of it seems in this earthly realm like pain and suffering. And as a brother or a sister witnessing someone else going to it, it's a call for love. I get to be extra loving, whatever that looks like. So that because we are whole, right? We are all part of the whole. That means no matter what, we are here to serve and carry each other because we must play our part, which the finger serves the arm serves the body. Everything serves something, serves the whole. And so on the reflection here from Marianne Williamson at day 160, it seems pretty like we're just kind of going right into this on the meaning of life. So I'm sure the shares that come up is going to, this is a perfect read because I've just had it open here this whole time. When we were born, we were programmed perfectly. We had a natural tendency to focus on love. Our imaginations were creative and flourishing, and we knew how to use them. We were connected to a world much richer than the one we are connected to now, a world full of enchantment and a sense of the miraculous. So what happened? Why is it that we reach a certain age, look around, and then enchantment was gone? Because we were taught to focus elsewhere. We were taught to think unnaturally. We were taught a very bad philosophy, a way of looking at the world that contradicts who we are. We were taught that we're separated from other people, that we have to compete to get ahead, and that we're not quite good enough the way we are. We were taught to see the world that others had come to see it. It's as though as soon as we got here, we were given a sleeping pill. The thinking of the world, which is not based on love, began pounding in our ears. Love is what we were born with. Fear is what we have learned here. The spiritual journey is the relinquishment or the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. Love is the essential existential fact. To be consciously aware of it, to experience love in ourselves and others, is the meaning and the purpose of our lives. So the struggles, right? Think about the struggles, and thank you for sharing that example with Brother Rise. The struggles is the external things that we are releasing of so that we can find and remember who we are naturally, which is love. We were taught that without those things, somehow I am less than now. Without more money coming in, somehow I am less than now. That our faith resides, our salvation lies in the amount of money we make and the appearance and the image I have identified with. And the real meaning of life is the undoing. The real purpose is the undoing of those things. And it's going to be undone no matter what. At the most extreme, the undoing is the death of the body. But you are having a death moment. I mean, he's having a death moment now of some things. But to realize that death is not the end. Death is an opportunity to awaken. So yeah, sending, and as we in our minds hold the space of love and all minds are joined and we are all one, he is being healed in this moment as we are using that example to become more aware ourselves. We all will go through these transitions over and over and over again in our lives, of the closing of the tabs, of the closing of chapters, of the quote unquote loss of loved ones that will continue to happen for us. But that doesn't mean peace and harmony needs to go with it. Right? It still exists and it's still right here. It just allows us now to deepen the meaning of love and compassion and kindness and empathy. See, we thought we had an idea of what that is. What is a nice person? What's a kind person? Oh, a kind person does this, and this. See, part of my identity is what is a kind person to me. And then as we have these experiences, the idea of kindness can expand, can grow bigger. But that's the death of our previous idea of kindness. Right? So the shedding away of some of these things, the closing of the tabs, just allow more to come. So viewed from a 30,000 feet view, it's beautiful, and we can have peace and harmony and change our relationships to these experiences in our lives. You know, and I think for me, like studying A Course in Miracles and having been so sporadic with the amount of money that I make and lose in things, not lose, but just the speed in which I spend. You know, like any dinner that we go out to, no matter how many people, like I'm just like, yep, pay for it, regardless if I have it or not in that moment. And it's the constant, like, the flow of that. Yeah, it doesn't really define me. Right? The amount of money and how many does not really define me. And so I think constantly, maybe subconsciously, I put myself in positions like that. Let's invest all of our money into real estate and everything right now. So the market moves in this direction. Great, we're doing amazing. The market moves in the other direction. Oh man, can't even pay for a phone bill now. No, it's not that bad. But, you know, that's just... And then now all of a sudden a job opens up. Oh my God, Alex gets to do a W-2 now. Like what? It's still super weird to say. And I do think there are still sparks of energy in me around that. But I'm just going to keep saying it until it's normalized for me. So, yeah. Anyways, Fraser.
I love what you're saying there. And it's interesting to have that reflection because I just started to do an audiobook called The Four Agreements.
Oh.
And how we have these boxes that are created from our childhood and our programming, and we're like this, and we forget about love. And we have to reprogram ourselves to remember that we are love and that every opportunity is a love.
Mm-hmm.
The killer book so far.
Yes.
So far.
It is a great book. Who else? You know, one of the things that I really have made a part of my identity in the book is being impeccable with your word. And probably have some stuff to work around that too. Because once you take on something, that becomes a part of your identity, and that doesn't really belong to you. That's not you either. So I actually lose my peace when somebody is constantly not being their word. So thank you for sharing that, because now that brought that up for me, and I do realize I have that with somebody right now.
And that's probably why you're struggling with the whole W-2 thing. Because that's why I'm struggling with it. Because my word, if I say I'm going to do it, 9 times out of 10, it's already done. Okay? And so for me, like you, to say, oh, I'm so glad after 26 months of real estate, I retired my husband. I've been a full-time entrepreneur for about 20 months now. And now I've lost 3 flows of income, and I'm like bored. Nobody tells you about when you have a passive income, you better find some hobbies. Like, and why not have a job that you enjoy doing that's also in alignment with maybe your businesses or whatever. Because now I'm like praying that I get a W 2 or 1099 because one, I'm bored and I've lost three flows of income. But then I have that identity crisis, and that my word is my bond. What I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to say. And now that talking about leaving and being a full-time entrepreneur, and now you have a W-2, I'm going to have to pivot and just say, you know what? I'm tired of people downplaying people's ability to execute a multifamily in different sectors because you feel that we're not as dedicated because we have a W-2, which is bullshit. And I stated this on our last call,
Yeah.
that a lot of the bigger operators, they're struggling. They're doing it full time. And that's why now I'm kind of annoyed because I've been focusing on smaller assets. Because if I do it between me and Cecilia, we can do about 4 million. I can do 2 on my own, 2 million. She can do 2 million on her own. But now I'm competing against some of these bigger people. Like some of the bigger Black Rocks of the world are now stepping away from the bigger assets and are now looking at smaller ones.
Yes, they are.
It's pissing me off. Yeah.
That's why we.
Like, what the hell? Leave us little guys alone. Like, what the F do you care about this little $4 million property?
I know. Well,
It's so frustrating. But that's one thing I wanted to say, and I'll have one last thought, and I'll let you. I know you want to say something.
no, go ahead.
I landed with what you said about when I'm going out, like I'm not going to be tied to my money, blah blah blah. And I put this in the chat. I grew up broke, with single mom, the oldest of 6 kids, and always living off the system and church and government and food stamps when it was actually a paper thing that they would scan and all of this shit. And so when I got into real estate and when I started making 6 figures instead of buying all this shit, I'm more comfortable throwing all my money in real estate and be on a bean and rice budget than I am seeing a bunch of commas in my bank account. And it's kind of weird. It's like this scarcity mindset, but also abundant, where I'm just kind of like, I don't want this money in the bank, but I also don't want the cash in the safe, you know? And so literally 80%, and I know it drives my husband crazy, but literally like 80% of my profits, they go back into real estate or a startup, you know, through the WeFunder app, or now I'm trying to get more triple net with Julie.
Yeah.
And so because I'm not comfortable having, when I had a bunch of comments in the big, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
you need counseling, but I'm like, I want this out. I get anxiety about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I don't want this shit in my bank account. What if I lose it? What if the government takes it? What if everybody pulls their money out and shit crashes? Like, so stupid, whatever. So I'm gonna get my money out of bank accounts fast enough, and I like to keep the money balances low. Like, I can pay my bills, I got some play money, and this, and then my husband doesn't like it, but bro, in 3, 5, 7 years, when some of these assets and shit pay off, you will be happy.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get that money anyways, because I'm putting it back in real estate. So, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's always, it's just, we just vacillate back and forth on our perceptions of things, right? I mean, I'm the same way. You know, I also uncover like, why do I have this? Why do I constantly, I've been trained that we should not have money in our bank account. Like the amount of assets that I have in real estate is ridiculous for no reason. And then, you know, not being able to have, you know, when cash flow stops, like, oh, wait, what happens now? Like my mom's always like, oh, why don't you just leave a whole year of spending in there? I'm like, because that number will just get bigger and bigger and I'll just keep spending it, you know, like, but that's a story also, right? So we all like carry these stories.
And that's good that you said that, because I was on a podcast the other day and I brought that up. Like, what do people not tell you about passive income? All you see is all the hoopla and all the rainbows and butterflies. I go, the fact that people tell you, like, hey, you know, yeah, you can. I paid off a bunch of stuff to survive off of just like $5,000 a month.
Yeah.
And to have that lifestyle, I go, but then when you lose and you're thinking, oh my God, I have passive income. I don't need to rely on a W-2. But what happens when operations are failing? What happens when ICE is knocking on doors and some of your tenants are being deported or they're just skipping out of town?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now some of your passive income goes from like $5,000 to $2,000 or $3,000. So it's not stability. It's just like a W-2. And I used to tell this to people for the last few years. Y'all are one pink slip away from being broke. You're thinking that you have this money. And here I am now. The irony is real that I would have been relying on passive income. And now I just lost flows of passive income, just like I would when I was in corporate, when I could get demoted, when I got a pay cut. So I'm like, shit is so real. And that's why I tell people, there's nothing now I do, because I'm in the situation I am, being 20 months in as a full-time entrepreneur, losing 3 flows of income. Like, no matter what you do, there is no certainty. It doesn't matter if it's passive income. It doesn't matter if it's a W-2. You just need to be smart with your money. Whatever metrics you're doing, whether it's 20% investing, 20%, bring it up in quarters, invest, savings, fund money, bills, right? And stay on it and don't keep up with the Joneses and have constant reminders around. Like I have it on my calendar every day. You are an investor. You are an investor. As a reminder, don't buy dumb shit that you don't need. Walk away from it. And if I'm still thinking about it in a few days and I really want them, then okay, maybe I'll come back and how can I make this work? Right? How much of my time is it going to cost me to pay for this particular item? So the things they don't teach us in our mentorships, right, Alex?
Well, the sooner that we're willing to face the fire, right, the sooner we get to peace around it. And we got to be super authentic with where we are, and it's cool. See, like, no matter what we choose and what we do, nobody really cares that much, right? And God's here to support you, and that's why it's so important to be in a community that is safe to begin the sharing process, to begin the process of healing. Like these calls are where I begin my healing in my marriage. These calls are the place where I feel safest to begin sharing and be like, okay, well, this identity of Alex can change right here without the judgments and with laughter. And then that just grows more into confidence for myself stepping into it, and do I want peace? That is a great question. So yeah, we've brought up a lot of different topics here today. A big part is like the identity of money and what that means. I do think it's so important in our world on one level, and on another level, it's used to show us where we've been placing our salvation this whole time. Where have we placed our entire identity around our ability to make or not make money? Imagine if money just disappeared. Nobody needed to use money. That could seem like a very scary world. Like, oh my God, what will we do then? Who are we then? How will anybody do work? Who would actually, where will we eat? What will we eat? If money's the motivational driver for everything in our world today, what happens if we just disappeared money? Once upon a time, there was no money. So, what's all this about then? What's all that then? Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, when you said that, what just came up for me, something I've carried through my life is like, as a man, I've felt like less of a man if I'm not able to generate money and be a provider for myself, for a future beloved, for all of it. And so I only had a W-2 my whole life through corporate America. And when I quit to travel the world for 4 years, I spent all my money, including my 401k, and never brought anything in. And now I'm in this interesting transition period because my greatest fear traveling was to end up back at my parents' house with no money. Here I am right now. I got to face my greatest fear, and I realized that I'm more supported than I've ever been. I'm evolving more. I'm finally putting courses out and teaching. I have more community. I have the financial support, so I don't have to stress that while I begin my entrepreneurial career. So it's like this shift is happening. I'm still in the cocoon, right? Like becoming the butterfly, but it just brought up to me when you said it, like there is this deep kind of core thing that I've carried as a man, like that I don't have like worth if I can't generate it on my own. What's interesting is I've never generated it on my own. It's only been from a company. So and now I'm like, yeah, it's like a little bit at a time, a little bit at this restaurant job, a little bit of my little $300 course, little bit. But I feel like I'm coming out of it. I feel like God is teaching me, like, look at what's so much more valuable. Look at all that I've attracted. Look at how I need nothing right now. And I barely have $1,000 in my bank account, and it's quite humbling. I'm 41 years old. I'm like, oh shit, I'm back at my parents' house, like while I start my new life.
Hmm.
It's next greatest leap I've ever taken beyond quitting the corporate job. But yeah, I just wanted to share that I feel that identity slowly undoing itself, and there's still this part of me that's like, I'll feel better when I make a lot of money, so I can feel like I finally was able to do it on my own and prove it to myself. But I don't know how I'll feel once that has happened.
Probably you'll be upset at the same things and lose your peace with the same stuff. The prodigal son returns, back home to where he feared he will lose all of his credibility and identity and all the shame and guilt of returning home. How interesting that we actually talked about the prodigal son in the last call, right? Returning home and being welcomed and actually seeing, oh my God, my kingdom is here. And it's not so bad here. And I'm being more loved and more supported. And oh my God, my relationship with my parents is actually more important than money. Like what? Than my protection of my identity that needs to be out on my own. And then all of a sudden fear, like, oh my God, what was I really afraid of? What was the shame and guilt that I carried with me as I returned home? With nothing, and the quote unquote nothing. But all the experiences and stories in the world, but that's nothing. Because money is everything. And so that's just an interesting narrative that all of us carry on some level because we exist in this world. Okay, Claudia. Last share, and then we are off.
So I want to share. So yesterday I was flying back to Florida, and I had hi everybody. Thank you, Samsara, for such a beautiful share, and Michael and everybody else earlier. So um, I was um, I was watching this documentary. It's called Rapa Nui. Rapa Nui is called the Eastern Island. It's an island across from in the Pacific Ocean from Chile, but it's a Polynesian island. I never heard about it, but it has a documentary where it speaks about, it's a self-sustainable island that it was very beautiful back in the like many many centuries ago, but the trees disappear there, and it's not because they ruin it, and that's one of the things that they think that it happens that the natives from the island destroy the island. No, it changed the climax. I guess it changed and it disappear. So they come more like a desert, less trees in there. So the whole idea is like how they can serve, because they call that this island is the solar plexus of the earth, and whatever they doing in there is gonna like a replicate or like repeat in the rest of the world. So it was in the beginning of the 19th or 18th, end of the 18th century, it was only 111 people in the island. To these days, 6,000 people in the island. And one of the couples are speaking here is one with a native of the Kapanui, the Rapanui, married with a girl that was from a father Rapanui, but the mother was American. So she was raised in the United States, and how they see the differences of, like the service compared with the materialism, right? And it's very beautiful because the society is calling back to the support each other, but they're not stopping the evolution of technology. Like they're creating a mall, they're creating a music space where it's access for everybody, it's free, but it's the tourist is the first income, and and it's the highest income of in the whole Chile, the tourism there. So it's very beautiful how to see how they come together. And it was dedicated one of the women in that tribe or community that she was collecting the garbage. We say every single they have 240 tons of garbage that they cannot recycle because it costs a fortune for them to get it out of the island. So it's what they do using these materials to create like the music school or their houses or different sustainable things with the material that they have in there. So it's very beautiful how like we shift because they have that mentality. And the girl it was one of the biggest pianists in I believe in the world, but I would have say I'm not sure that was my understanding in the documentary, but she was at least in Chile really well recognized. She's the one leading this thing, and they don't have money. They say we're concerned because now they have babies and they don't have money. So how it comes, and they keep saying the Mauis or Muis that they call the spirits of the land are the ones providing them. So it's a very beautiful. So I just want it came to me about all these things that we're talking about financials and we have or we don't have the material part. So
Yeah.
a lot of love.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And so, yes, we can exist with money, we can exist without money. But the goal is to be able to look beyond all of that. Can we look beyond our identity to our innocence? Can we look upon our brothers and sisters? Can we look upon our husbands, wives, our daughters, sons, fathers, mothers? Like, can we look at everybody beyond the identity so that we may be redeemed ourselves? So it's to practice spiritual sight. So here we go. Practice spiritual sight, looking beyond all the identity so that it may be easier for us to shed ours. And number 2, whenever we feel lost and we feel agitated, and when I say lost, it doesn't mean like you don't know where you are, but when you feel lost is when you are not in a state of joy. Whenever you are not in a state of joy, you are lost. And the way that we find our way back is to be of service to the world. Find something to be in service to. Unconditional service. All right? Okay. Great reminder for all of us. Thank you guys for all that have shared. Thank you for being here and witnessing the shares. Everyone's presence here made a difference. So thank you all very much. And let's go out there and bring peace and bring love. And much love to all of you. See you guys on Sunday. Bye.